This web page uses 3 external style sheets. Large.css gives you this result. You've got purple, got pink border here for the image links. You've got hover, that's a background, that's a color of black, changes that pink border to a black one. And you have this book called Move Over with a cow on the front of it. When you use the middle.css, you get this view. Oh no, little dragon is the book. It's going to be the background image here. And you're going to go from this little shape right here that's rounded on diagonal corners and pointy on diagonal corners to this looks kind of like a door or a window frame shape. And again, your hover is black, and in this case the border is white. And then the small.css style sheet gives us this view where you have your image links are completely round and the initial color of the border is lime, and when you hover over it it's black, but in this particular browser the black looks gray. And this is what it looks like actually when you've clicked this link. When you click this link you hear an MP3 say airmail to the moon, and then this page comes here that shows you what the book looks like. Play story. When you click play story, you actually hear the story start to play, and then this button right here that says save note. Whatever you type in here, you can save it, and next time you open up this page, this will be here. If you hit remove note button, it erases it. So you could type something totally different in here, hit save note, and that'll save. In between your browser sessions it'll save because it's using local storage. Okay, so each one of these images that you click on is going to open up an entirely new external web page. For instance, this one opens up 1.html. This one opens up 2.html, which is going to represent this particular book. So when you hit play story here, you're going to hear this book read. This is 3.html. This is 4.html. It represents this book. This is 5.html opening up down here. We've got 6.html opening up, and finally 7.html opens up down here. And again, if you click on this, just wanted to show you how as you click on every single one of these, you go from the image border going from a lime green to a black. It looks great, but it's black. Now page 1, here's page 1. This is 1.html. This is what 1.html looks like when it's opened up by itself, not inside this landing page that has all these different image links that you can click and all these things that open up in this iframe down here. This is just what the page looks all by itself. So I'm going to close out of these other browsers. I'm going to start going over some code now. I think the first thing I'll do is I'll go over 1.html code, which represents this right here. Then 2.html, 3.html, 4.html, 5.html, 6.html, and 7.html are just copies and pastes of this 1.html, and then things like the title are changed. Things like in the body here, the background URL is going to point to a different image. In the function save my stuff, we have a different key value pair here going on for local storage to work. So we've got a function save my stuff, a function remove my stuff, and a function load my stuff. and it's going to have its own unique key value pair that you're going to use for local storage. Then you've got function play story and document.getElementById by ID 1 story.play. Each page is going to have its own unique thing as well. And there's the end of the script, the end of the head. Body, onload equals load my stuff. Load my stuff, which is this function right here. Every single page it's going to have its own load my stuff. And again, that's referring to the key value pair that you create. And then the div with the ID of controls. That's this div right here with the black background that holds the play button, the save button, and the remove button. So there's the input type equals button, ID equals play button. So that's referring to this one that has the yellow background. Then you've got input right here, type button, ID equals save button. So that's dealing with this green save note button. And then the last button, input type equals button, ID equals remove button. And that's talking about this button with the red background. So there's the end of that div called div ID controls. Then you have this text area here with the ID of Sun1. This text area is this white spot to the right that is the ID equals Sun1 is very important because that's dealing with, if I go back up here to these functions, see everywhere that Sun1 is highlighted? It's in the function load my stuff, it's in the function remove my stuff, and it's in the function save my stuff. So it's important that you have that ID in all three of your functions so that local storage will work. So that's the text area to the right here. Then we have audio with that ID of one story. Inside the audio tag with the ID equals one story, we have source, src equals, and then because we're in 1.html and all the pages are in a folder called sound, we have to, all the pages are in a folder called pages. In order to get to an MP3, which is in a folder called sound, we have to use the dot dot to jump out of the folder called pages, jump into the folder called sound, jump into another folder called Grammalisa, jump straight to this MP3 file, airmail to the moon, airmail to the moon, story, Grammalisa.mp3. So I gave it kind of a long name. The name consists of the title of the book, who is reading the story, so the title of the book, the word story, and the name of the person that's reading the story, .mp3. Because what I'm going to do in the future is I'm going to have a number of people read the same story so that you'll have different versions of the story, and then maybe down here at the bottom I'll have pictures, buttons that either say who can possibly be reading the story, or a little image down here with a head of me, a head of mom, a head of dad, maybe a head of auntie or whatever. So that way the student or the child can actually pick the book they want to hear and then come down here and pick who they get to listen to, who's going to read it. So that's a future thing that won't be any harder than just having these other people actually read it and create the MP3. Linking to it is just as easy as linking to it by the one person, so that'll be fun. Alright, so there's the end of the audio and the body end of the HTML. So I went through 1.html really fast. I want to go through it a little with a fine-tooth comb now. HTML head, title, page 1, link, this is the link, rel equals style sheet, href equals, again, dot dot, we have to jump out of where we currently are, 1.html, 2.html, 3.html, all the way to 7.html is in a folder called Pages. So we have to jump out of the Pages folder, jump into the Style folder, and point to a style just to get it started. So we're going to point to the smallest style, which is small.css. And we're going to let every page initially have a default of the small.css style. There's the end of that link. And in the style tags, we have to have a body that's unique to only one.html, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 will have its own background as well. So in the style tags, you got body, background, URL, and in parentheses, ... to jump again out of the folder called Pages, jump into the folder called Images, and grab this image right here, airmailtothemoon.jpg. So that entire piece right there is one statement. The next statement says background size 48%, 100%. 48% is the width, 100% is the height. I gave the image 48% because I wanted to leave room for my text area here to the right of it. Background repeat, no repeat, that's the next statement. Margin 0 auto is the next statement. Padding 0 pixels is the next statement. Height 100% is the next statement, and width 48% is the next statement. So even though I have background size here 48%, 100%, I still had to put height 100% and width 48% as well. It had to do with different browsers picking that up. So you have to have both. And there's the end of the style for that page. And here's a script that has the functions. So the first function save my stuff, has two statements. Var value 1 equals document.getElementById, and in parentheses and single quotes, sun1.value. And the second statement for save my stuff is local storage.setItem, and here's that key value pair. Key sun1 in single quotes, comma, value 1. So there's the whole function for save my stuff. Now let's go down to remove my stuff. Function remove my stuff also has two statements. Document.getElementById sun1 in parentheses and single quotes .value equals, and it's set to an empty string, so it's just two single quotes. And the second statement says local storage.remove item, and in parentheses and single quotes key sun1. So that was the whole function for remove my stuff. Move further down, and this is the whole function to load my stuff. Function load my stuff has two statements also. We have var stored value 1 equals local storage.getItem, and again we're putting the name of key sun1 in parentheses and single quotes. And then we have an if condition here. It goes from here to here. If stored value 1 is in parentheses, then in double quotes document.getElementById sun1 in parentheses and single quotes .value equals stored value 1. So that's all of load my stuff from there to there. The next function is function play story. So function play story has one statement inside of it. Document.getElementById one story in single quotes and parentheses .play. Okay, that's the end of the script for 1.html, the end of the head. Body on load equals load my stuff. So when 1.html loads, it's going to go straight to load my stuff, and it's going to do this function. It's going to call that function. Alright, now that we're in the body, we have a div with the ID equals controls. Again, that's holding these three buttons. play story, save note, and remove note is the text on each of those buttons. Alright, so the first button is here. It's this entire bit. Input type equals button, ID equals play button, value equals play story, as you can see on the face of the button. Then it's got an on-click event, and the on-click event here has 1, 2, 3, 4 statements to it. The first statement, and all those statements have their own ending semicolon, and all 4 of these statements are enclosed in double quotes. So the first statement for the onClick is document.getElement by ID, one story, in parentheses and single quotes, .play. The next statement is style.background color equals, take that back, there's another statement right there. So there's 5 statements here. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 statements inside of the onClick. Second statement, style.background color equals black. So initially this button when you click it, it goes from yellow to black, and when you click it, the color goes from black to white. One story, the audio tag called one story is going to play. Also, document.getElement by ID play button.value equals airmail to the moon. So in play story is going to be changed to airmail to the moon. And then we've got the last statement that says return true. So I'm going to click play story, and then you're going to see all of these statements execute. Probably couldn't hear it, but I could hear the story being played in my headphones, and you noticed that the background color of this button changed to black, and the face changed, the text changed to white, and the name of the book showed. So airmail to the moon showed. Alright, so that's the play button. And I could put a little space between these buttons. This is indicating this green button right here. Input type equals button, ID equals save BTN, value equals save note, onClick equals save my stuff. So when you click the green button, it's going to call the save my stuff function, which I already went over right here. It's calling that. Okay, the third button is right here. Input type equals button, ID equals remove button, or remove BTN, value equals remove note, as you can see. OnClick equals remove my stuff. So by clicking the red button, you're calling the remove my stuff function, which again, already went over right here. Calls that. Okay. So there's the end of the div. The end of the div with the name of ID equals controls. It's holding all the buttons. Here's the text area, ID equals sun1, and that's right here. Then here's the audio tag, audio ID equals one story, and again, one story. If I go back up here, you can see that the input play story here is utilizing it, document.getElement by ID one story.play. And what's it going to play? It's going to play what's in the source tag right here inside of the audio tag. We got the source tag. Source src equals jump out of whatever folder 1.html is in, which it's in a folder called pages, jump into a folder called sound, jump into another folder called Grammalisa that's inside of sound, and then snatch this MP3 file called airmail to the moon story grammalisa.mp3. end source, end audio, end body, end HTML. Every single one of these external web pages is made the exact same way. Only difference is we're going to point to a different story being read here in the audio tag. We're going to have a different key value pair that's used for local storage. Here we're using Sun1 because originally I had created a project that was for a journal. And so for here, this very first icon was for Sunday. The next one was for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And so that's why the ID says Sun1. And the second one would be called Mun1. And the third one would be called TUE for Tuesday 1. Well, obviously you can change this to whatever key value pair names you want. You don't have to follow this format because it probably doesn't make sense to you. Maybe you could just have this text ID ONE or something, or I don't know, however you want to do it. And then the buttons will be the same. Input type equals button ID equals remove button value equals remove node on click equals remove my stuff. All of this input for the red button is not going to change. This input for the green button is not going to change. But the yellow button will change in the next page because we're going to call get element by ID. In the next page it's going to be called ToStory, and it's going to call obviously the second story here, the second MP3 file, whatever its name is, will be down here. It will be a totally different MP3, and the ID will be TWO story, so that each of these audios have their own unique name. Although because they're in a separate page, it might not necessarily need a unique name. I just gave them all unique names just to avoid any confusion. I keep my 1.html with my Sun1 and my one story just to try to keep everything all in line. So what else? So this part would say ToStory, and then this document.getElement by ID play button.value. Airmail to the moon obviously will be not airmail to the moon for the second story. It's going to be meet Mr. and Mrs. Green. And then for 3.html it will be move over, and so on and so forth. They're going to match whatever children's story is being read. Okay, all of the pages will have body unload equals load my stuff, because we're going to use the same names of the function in the script. In the function play story for 2.html, document.getElement by ID won't be one story, it'll be TWO story. And then for the load my stuff function, var stored value 1. Let me actually open that. Let me actually open this and compare. Here's 2.html. Let's go to the functions here. The function for 2.html function save my stuff. Okay, key value 1 could be the same. Document.getElement by ID. This has to change though. This has to be unique. So here, again, because I originally had this Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and this was kind of a copy and paste of an old project, I still kept that key value pair for Mun1. So, function save my stuff, var value 1 equals document.getElement by ID mun1.value, and local storage.set item key mun1, comma, value 1. So there's that key value pair. Function remove my stuff, document.getElement by ID mun1.value equals, and then nothing, an empty string, local storage.remove item key mun1. Lastly, function load my stuff for 2.html, var stored value 1 equals local storage.getItem key mun1, And if stored value 1, document.getElement by ID, mon1, dot value equals stored value 1. Okay. Our function play story, document.getElement by ID, to story.play, and script head. Load my stuff, same. Div ID controls, input, there's my play button, on-click document.getElement by ID to story.play, style.background color equals black, style.color equals white, document.getElement by ID play button, dot value equals meet Mr. and Mrs. Green. So when this is clicked, we see the meet Mr. and Mrs. Green image. If we hover over here, you see the tooltip that says meet Mr. and Mrs. Green. And if you click play story, it says meet Mr. and Mrs. Green, but it got kind of chopped off because the width of this particular page is kind of small. It's kind of narrow. Oh, input, type button, save button, value equals save node, on click you will save my stuff. This was exactly the same as 1.html, and this was exactly the same as 1.html as well. No changes with those two buttons. 2.html, the top HTML head title, it just says page 2. It's pointing to the same default style sheet, link rel style sheet, href equals dot dot to jump out of pages folder, jump into style folder, and snatch that small.css style sheet. Style for 2.html, body, this statement right here, background : URL, dot dot images, meet Mr. and Mrs. Green.jpg. This is the same background size, 48%, 100%. This is the same background repeat, no repeat. This is the same margin 0 auto, padding 0 pixels, height 100%, and width 48%. So that part all was the same. Basically, all of this is the same between all of those external pages. 1.html all the way to 7.html. The only thing that changes is what image we're snatching to show right here on the page. So when you click this cow picture, you see what cover it belongs to, and so on and so forth. Okay, so there's the end of the style for 2.html, and I already went over the scripts and what changed. Save my stuff. Var value 1 equals document.getElement by ID mon1.value and local storage.set item key mon1 comma value 1. So each of these pages gets its own save my stuff, remove stuff, my stuff, and load my stuff, and they each get their own play story function. Okay, so I don't need to look at 2.html anymore. I don't need to look at 1.html anymore. I went over both of those bit on the repetitive side. Let's go over readbooks.html, which is all of this, not just this little part down here that opens up, not the 1.html that opens up in the side frame, but this whole thing that doesn't include the 1.html, 2.html, 3.html, all the way to 7.html, doesn't include that. That pops up down here. So this is readbooks.html, which is the whole landing page, including all the navigation up here at top. HTML head, title, read books. As you can see, read books is up here. This page 1 I don't need to show you anymore. Close out of that. This link here, link ID equals icon, rel equals shortcut icon, href equals box. Because if I go here, because this folder called read books, when you open it, you open up that initial folder, readbooks.html is the default opening page, it's the landing page, and everything else is in a folder called box. So when you're in this page, you're in the code of this page, if you want to access anything inside of this box, you have to refer to the name of this folder first, which is box. So you'll see box, then you'll see any of these other folders, whatever I'm digging for, you'll see at that point after box. So when I'm in readbooks.html, in order to grab this shortcut icon that I created in Paint, this smiley here, I have to go to Box folder, then Images folder, then point to smiley.ico. Type equals image / X icon. So there's my smiley.ico right up there. Then I've got this meta name equals viewport, content equals width equals device width, comma, initial scale equals 1.0, and all that's in double quotes. And here are 3 links to 3 different style sheets, and it depends on the width of the window. So link rel equals style sheet, media equals screen and min width 1 pix and max width 700 pix, href equals box / style / small.css. So when this window is between 1 and 700 pixels, it's going to snatch small.css style sheet, which is right here. And each of these style sheets are really close to being identical. There's only a few changes, as I already showed you what the differences look like. And I've done a video about this exact same type of project before, so this should all be review if you've seen any of my previous videos that dealt with 3 different style sheets. The next one is link rel equals style sheet, media equals screen and min width 700 pixels and max width 1000 pixels, href equals box / style / medium.css. So when this window is between 700 and 1000 pixels, it's going to grab medium.css. And another link rel equals style sheet, media equals screen and min width 1000 pixels and max width 5000 pixels, href equals box / style / large CSS. So this is how you access 3 different external style sheets based on the width of your window. End of the head, here's the body, you got the ID div with the ID of nav, and that's dealing with these icons up here. Our first image link is between these purple A's, this A tag and this closing A tag. So between 21 and 28, that's our first image link right here. Aref equals box / pages / 1.html. So when I click on this, 1.html opens down here. Target equals TV because this is an iframe down here and it's got an ID and a name of TV. Title equals airmail to the moon means when I hover over this image, you see this little tooltip pop up that says airmail to the moon. On click, we have an on click event here so that when you click on here, you document.getElementById by ID 1 ONE in parentheses and single quotes .play. So this is going to play a very short MP3 that's basically me just announcing the name of the book. Return true. Okay, so all of that is the opening tag to a link. And down here in the purple is the closing title link. So in between the opening link tag and closing link tag, we have an image. And that's right there. Move that up here. Image img source equals, go inside the folder box, go inside the folder images, and snatch tiny airmail to the moon .ping. That's this image. It's actually resized to be a smaller image so that it wouldn't take very long to load in this little small area. It's got an on-click event. On-click equals this .style.border equals 7 pixels black ridge. So all of these image links start off as this bright lime color, and as each of these are clicked, this on-click event right here, by using the this keyword, it's referring to whatever element that it's inside of, which it's inside of this image. So this .style.border equals 7 pixels of black ridge. When you click it, when you click the image, that's how you change the border of it to a different color. And then, so that's all of your image tag, and that's all of your link. So there, from 21 to 28. And you copy and paste this whole thing for each and every one of these image links. And the only thing you do is you change what images and what MP3s that you're referring to. So for the second one, from line 30 to line 38, aref equals go into the folder called box, go into the folder called pages, and grab 2.html. When you grab that 2.html, you're going to target it to an iframe with the ID and the name of TV. You use the title keyword to give yourself a tooltip when you hover over this that says Meet Mr. and Mrs. Green. Then you've got an on-click event so that when you click that image, it's going to use document.getElement by ID. This time the ID is going to be 2 TWO dot play, and when I get further down to the bottom of this code, you'll see what the 1 and 2 dot play are referring to. They're referring to audio tags further down. And the third tag, oh, I'm sorry, we're still in the first link. The image to the second link, not the first, the second. There's the image to this one that's still glowing with this lime green. Image source equals go inside the folder called box, go inside the folder called images, and grab tiny meet Mr. and Mrs. Green.png. So you can't hardly see what that is, but that's what that image is. And onClick equals this.style.border equals 7 pixels of black ridge. And then there's the end of the entire link right there. So you got a link, and inside of the link you've got an image. So that when you click on the image is, it's how you make an image link. You put an image tag inside of a link tag. So now this hasn't been clicked yet, so when I do click it, you see this image and you see this text area because it's opening up 2.html, and there was an MP3 that said meet Mr. and Mrs. Green, so it was a MP3 audio introduction of the book. When you click, because this whole thing is 2.html page, these buttons only refer to this page. So when I hit play story, meet Mr. and Mrs. Green actually changes the button and starts to play. Alrighty, so instead of reading each and every one of these links, I'll just highlight it for a second, and you can pause it if you need to, but it's basically a copy and paste. We're just referring to another page, we're referring to another tooltip, we're referring to another audio that's going to play, and we're referring to another tiny image that is going to show up here in the navigation section. And let's go down to the next one. It goes from here to here. This is dealing with Mother Goose Math. This one right here, Mother Goose Math. Alright, so pause that and copy it if you want. Moving on. This is the fifth one that opens up 5.html down here. So when I click on this, this one. This is the book Terrific. And you can see the pop-up Terrific. The image tinyterrific.ping. Document.getElement by ID 5.play. And again, 1.play, 2.play, 3.play, 4.play, 5.play, 6.play, and 7.play will all be explained as I get further down to the bottom of this page. Here's the next image link that's dealing with this Zombolina book. So it's opening 6.html down here in this iframe. It's going to play the story, referring to an audio tag that has the ID of 6. It's going to target that 6 HTML to this iframe called TV down here. When you hover over this, you see Zombolina dances the Nutcracker, title Zombolina dances the Nutcracker. The image that's inside of this is inside box, inside images, tiny zombolina.ping. When you click on it, you got this .style.border equals 7 pixels of black ridge. It starts off as green, then it turns black. Well, it starts off as lime, actually. And here's the last one. aref equals box pages 7.html on click equals document.getElement by ID 7.play, return true, target equals TV, title equals oh no little dragon, and you hover over, you see oh no little dragon. There's the image src equals go inside a box, go inside of images, and grab tiny oh no little dragon.ping. So there's that oh no little dragon.ping image right inside there. When you click on it, you got this on click equals this.style.border equals 7 pixels of black ridge. So when I click on it, it now has black ridge border up here, and 7.html page opens up down here with its own unique buttons and its own unique code. Alright, so there's the end of the last link, the end of the div that holds all the links. The div up here with the ID of, where is it? ID equals nav. Okay, so then we're almost to the bottom. Here's a div that's holding the iframe, and the iframe opens up all these pages when you click on these links. This div has a class equals 8, so when we look at the CSS, we're going to have a .8 that gets styles. And inside of this div, we have the iframe that actually opens all these pages right here. iframe, ID equals TV, name equals TV, source equals, it's initially set to nothing, width equals 99%, scrolling equals auto, and frame border equals 10 pixels. And then there's the end of the iframe tag, end of the div with a class of 8. Now, this is what I told you. All of these audio tags are going to have a source inside of it that's going to point to a different MP3, which is actually a different announcement. When you click on one of these image links up here, the first thing that happens, besides opening its corresponding page down here, an MP3 plays that announces the name of the story. So when this first one is clicked, it's clicked, and this box, go inside a box, go inside a sound, and then go inside another folder called Home Navigation, because it's referring to this navigation up here, and then it's going to point to airmail to the moon.mp3, which is just me going airmail to the moon. Okay, so it's just basically announcing this book. End source, end audio. When you click this one, source src equals go inside a box, go inside a sound, go inside of home navigation, and find the mp3 that says meet Mr. and Mrs. Green.mp3. So when this is clicked, 2.html opens up down here in this iframe, and you hear me go meet Mr. and Mrs. Green or whatever, you know. And then you got this one that's referring to the cow image right here. Audio ID equals 3, source src equals box, sound, home navigation, move over.mp3. So when I click here, 3.html opens up down in here, and you hear me go move over. ID, audio ID equals 4, source src equals box /sound /home navigation /mother goose math.mp3. So here I go mother goose math, and I introduce this book with an mp3. Almost done. Audio ID equals 5, source src equals box, sound, home navigation terrific.mp3, and source and audio. Source ID 6, source src box, sound, home navigation zombolina.mp3, and source and audio. Audio ID equals 7, source src equals box, sound, home navigation oh no little dragon.mp3, and source and audio. And this sound ID equals sound div, bg sound ID equals sound, and div. I believe this has something to do with Internet Explorer. End body, end HTML. So that's all the code for the readbooks.html, which is this landing page. The only thing I haven't went over are, and this right here is just notes, because another way to play the introduction of the book, just the name of the book, not the story itself, was to mouse over and mouse out. And if you wanted to do that in the link, you can do this. On mouse over equals document.getElement by ID 1.play, and then on mouse out, there's two statements on mouse out. On mouse out equals document.getElement by ID 1.pause, and document.getElement by ID 1.current time equals 0. So when you mouse over the image, it starts to play Airmail to the Moon. When you pull out, it pauses that MP3 and resets the MP3 to 0. So if you go back and hover over it again, you'll see the tooltip that says Airmail to the Moon, and you'll hear Airmail to the Moon. And you just keep going back and forth. Well, I thought that was kind of ridiculous. And I can just imagine a little kid just hovering back and forth over all of these just to hear the noises it makes just by the hovering event itself. So I didn't really want to do the on mouse out and on mouse over. I prefer to use the on click event to play it. So I used this. I used these three statements. On click equals style.background color equals black, and document.getElement by ID 1.play, and return true. That way you have to actually click the image and not just mouse over it and mouse out. But if you wanted to do that, I just wanted to show you how you would do that. There's the on mouse over and the on mouse out again. Okay, so I'm done with the readbooks.html. I'll go over these, but I'll just highlight sections. Small.css, that gives us the style for this particular, with a green background. Body, background color is gray, margin is 0 pixels, auto padding is 5 pixels. Now I think that small, medium, and large CSS style sheets all have that exact same thing. Let's check. Medium on the top. Background color gray, margin 0 pixels, auto padding 5 pixels. Large. Body background color gray, margin 0 pixels, auto padding 5 pixels. Okay, so between these three style sheets, we have the same background color here, the same padding, and the same margin. I go back to small. This class 8 that I told you about, dot 8. When it's small, it's dot 8. Background color is black. Just in case you use a browser that won't recognize the background image. But if you do not have a problem with that, then you have background colon URL, and then in parentheses you have to point to whatever image you want to open up there. And in this case, because I'm in small.css, and all of these CSSs, small, medium, and large, are all in a folder called styles. So you have to jump out of styles. You have to go URL and then in parentheses jump out of styles with a dot dot, jump into images folder, and grab zombolina.jpg. That's if you click this one. That's what's going to show right here. Okay. Background size 100%, 100% is the same across the board here. So if I open up medium, you can see background size, background repeat, no repeat. It's the same for all three. Background size 100, 100, background repeat, no repeat. What is different is I tried this text align center for some reason and it didn't do anything anyway, so I could take that out. So for small, we have the background color of black, and the background image, however, is going to be different. Here it's Zombolina. In the medium, it's showing "Oh no, little dragon," and in the large, it's showing "Move over." Okay. In the small, we have a height and a width, a height of 80% and a width of 90%. In the medium, we have a height of 79% and a width of 90%. And in the large, we have a height of 74% and a width of 90%. In the small, let's see, I think we have margin 0 auto for all of those too. Yeah, here I've got it up at the top, but in the medium, I have it right here, and in the small, I have it right there. So margin 0 auto is the exact same for all three style sheets. The border is different. On the small, we have a border of 7 pixels green ridge. In the medium, we have a border of 7 pixels maroon ridge. And in the large, we have a border of 7 pixels purple ridge. Okay, in the small, I have a minimum width of 430 pixels. In the medium, minimum width of 430 pixels. In the large, minimum width of 430 pixels. That's just a minimum that as you go down, obviously you're going to be grabbing the smallest style sheet, but you don't want the page to go down any more narrow than 430 pixels, because if you do squeeze it thinner than 430 pixels, this image link will slide down underneath this, and so I want them all to be lined up from left to right, so I have to give it a minimum width. Okay, let's go back to the small style sheet. We have, well, I tried to make my icon up here, my shortcut icon. I wanted it to be rounded, but this didn't work. Pound icon, I gave it an ID of icon. So pound icon, border radius 20 pixels. Yeah, it simply didn't work at all, so I can just take that out. And the pound nav for the small CSS. Let's get the medium CSS. Let's bring up the pound nav. And the large CSS, let's bring up the pound nav. See what differences are between these three. For the small CSS, we have a background color of green. For the medium CSS, we have a background color of maroon. For the large CSS, we have a background color of purple. For the small CSS, we have a border of 7 pixels green ridge. The medium, we have a border of 7 pixels maroon ridge. And for the large, we have 7 pixels of purple ridge. Back to the small, we have the width and a height. A width of 90%, a height of 14%. Again, we're talking about the navigation up here that holds these navigation image links. So for the small, it's 90%, 14%. For medium, it's 90% and 15%. And for large, it's 90% and 20%. So you can just fiddle around with those numbers and get your changes the way you want. Alright, I have two things for small. I have margin 0 pixels auto and text align center. Medium, exact same two things, margin 0 auto, text align center. Large, exact same, margin 0 auto and text align center. Back to the small. I think all three of these, at least these two, border top left radius 2em and border top right radius 2em. That's rounding just the top corners of the navigation section here. To the medium, exact same thing, and the large, exact same thing. And I see that my minimum width for the small is 440. I guess these should all be the same. Why would I want these any different? So they all have a minimum width. All this navigation area has a minimum width of 440. Okay, let's go down to the small CSS and let's check out what's different with the iframe. Here's the medium. Let's go to the iframe, see what's different. Large iframe. Alright, so the small has iframe height 98% width, 98%, margin 0 auto, opacity 1.0. We did have a minimum width there, but I Z'd it out, so it doesn't really matter that I could just kill it. Border 7 pixels, green solid. Okay, so that's the iframe. That's this big square down here at the bottom that is holding the pages. The pages open up inside of it. So when we're in the small CSS, we got the green stuff going on. The medium CSS, again, I Z'd out the minimum width, so I don't need to worry about that. Iframe is height of 97%, width of 98.5, margin 0 auto, opacity 1.0, and border 7 pixels, maroon solid. The large, okay, let's kill that. Iframe height 96.75%, width 99%, margin 0 auto, opacity 1.0, border 7 pixels, purple solid. Okay, let's see what's different with the image. For the small CSS, the IMG tag has a margin of 3 pixels, 5 pixels, 0 pixels, and 0 pixels. So this is 3 pixels of the top, 5 pixels to the right, 0 pixels to the bottom, and 0 pixels to the left. Border of 7 pixels, lime ridge, border radius 2 em. And if I properly spell box shadow and save it and then refresh the page, you see we get this little yellow shadow here. At first I thought that was kind of a neat thing, but then I thought it made it look too, I don't know, busy or something. So I misspelled it, but I wanted to leave the code here because for future reference, if I want to use box shadow, this is kind of like a reminder how to do it. So I just misspell it so that I'm not actually utilizing it. So the style disappears, but like I said, by misspelling it, I have this as a reminder for future reference for maybe a different project. I have z-index of 99 and height of 64%. Okay, so now let me go over all of the IMG for the medium CSS and see how those have changed. And this is a little bit different. For the medium, I have margin 1 pixel, 10 pixels, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, border 7 pixels of white ridge, padding 3 pixels, background color black, border top left radius, and border top right radius are both 2 em. That's the same. The box shadow is misspelled, so it doesn't show anything. The position is relative. The z-index is 99. Position relative is not necessary because position relative is default positioning, so I don't need that. Z-index 99, I really don't know if I need the z-index 99. I thought that was for when you're creating fixed position elements, so that may not be necessary. Height is 73% and width is 50 pixels. Okay, so that's changing the image a little bit when you go from small to medium. Let's check out large. And this is the style for the large.css style sheet for the IMG tag. Margin 3 pixels, 10 pixels, 0 pixels, 0 pixels, border 7 pixels, pink ridge, padding 5 pixels, background color black, border top left radius, and border bottom right radius. That doesn't make sense. It's both supposed to be the top. Oh no, 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 no. That's right, because this is a different shape. In the large CSS, you've got, instead of 2 top corners like this, they're diagonal. This corner and the diagonal corner are rounded, and the other 2 corners that are diagonal are sharp. So this actually did change. It also is utilizing a box shadow. Box shadow negative 3 pixels, 3 pixels, 3 pixels, and the color pound 333, which is a type of gray. Again, position relative, I don't believe makes sense. I don't think that is important. Z-index 99. I don't think that's important, but I'm not going to take it off yet. And height 65%. Alright, so go back to the small CSS. And let's go do these two things, the image hover and the A link. So for the image hover, it has a border in the small CSS of 7 pixels black ridge, and the A link has a text decoration of none. In the medium, the image hover has a border of 7 pixels black ridge, and the A link text decoration none. And in the large, okay, so these are all the exact same thing across the board. Image hover, border 7 pixels black ridge, A link text decoration none. So you can change these and make them different if you want between the 3 different types of style sheets. So let's get down to the text area of the small.css. Text area resize none with 52% position fixed, right 0 pixel, top 41 pixel, height 100%, font size 20 pixels, and padding 5 pixels. The medium text area resize none with 52% position fixed, right 0 pixels, top 41 pixels, height 100%, font size 20, padding 5 pixels. And text area for the large CSS. Resize none with 52% position fixed, right 0, top 41, height 100%. The font size is Z'd out for some reason, and the padding is 5 pixels. I don't know why the font size is Z'd out. Save that. Go back to the small. Now we're going to do the controls. Pound controls for ID, the div with the ID of controls. Small CSS has position fixed, width 102.5%, left 0 pixels, border 7 pixels, black solid, padding 0 pixels, float left, background color black. For the medium, position fixed, width 102.5 pixels, left 0 pixels, border 7 pixels, black solid, padding 0 pixels, float left, background color black. And for the large, position fixed, width 102.5%, left 0 pixels, border 7 pixels, black solid, padding 0 pixels, float left, and background color black. So I think all 3 of those are the same. And save button for the small CSS. Background color green, color black, padding 6 pixels, width 32%, float left. I think all of these are the same. Yes, save button from the small to the medium was exactly the same, and to the large, it looks exactly the same. So I'm going to assume that all of the buttons have the same style. Play button, yellow, black, 6 pixel padding, 32% width and float left. And in the medium, it's the same. And in the large, it's the same. The small, remove button, background color red, color black, padding 6, width 30. This is all the same. And in the medium, that's the same. And in the large, that's the same. So I went over all of the code for all of the files to show you the gist of this program. And anything that I left out is a simple copy and paste and points to different things. And again, this is pulling the small.css because of the width, and if I widen it, you're going to see the medium. There's the medium CSS. And if I widen it even more, there's the result for the large.css. And because each one of these links opens up its own page, and each one of these pages uses its own functions and its own local storage key value pairs, I can go here to this first one and I can type airmail part of the title and hit save note. I can go to the next one and I can hit remove note. Meet Mr. and Mrs. Hit save note. Go to the third one. Hit remove note to get rid of that 3. Move over. Save note. Go to the next one. Remo- Hitting remove note will get rid of this 4. And I will write part of the title, Mother Goose. Hit save note, go to the next one, remove that 5. Terrific, save it, go to the next one, remove what's in there, just write Sambalina, save note. And you see, this pink one is the only one I haven't clicked yet. I clicked all of these and it changed the image's border. I'm going to click this one. Now they're all with this black gray border. Here you see a 7. Remove. And oh no, little dragon. Hit save note. Okay. Now as I open up each one of these pages, you see the stuff is actually saved in the text area. Now I gotta pay attention. This rounded corner is Mozilla Firefox because whatever gets saved in here gets saved based on what browser you're in. So if you use 2 or 3 different browsers and you save stuff, it's only gonna save whatever browser you were in. So if I close out of this, which is Firefox, and I go back here and I try to get back to this, I click this and it's going to open in Opera because it's set, Opera is set as the default right now. Everything that I just typed in there won't be saved in the respective text areas. Anything that was saved previously will, if anything was saved, because local storage saves based on the browser you're using. Okay, so let me click here and see what shows up over here. It's still loading. Okay, this just says Opera 1 because this was saved previously, and this says Opera 2 and Opera 3, Opera 4, Opera 5, Opera 6, and Opera 7. So those were previously saved things in this text area, and local storage worked by saving whatever it is that I typed in here, and I used the Save Note button. So let me get out of there, and let me right click this and hit open with Firefox, and you'll see that the things that I saved before I opened up Opera will show. Alright, here we go. So now I'm going to click on the first one, Airmail, Meet Mr. and Mrs., Move Over, Mother Goose, Terrific, Thumbelina, and Oh No Little Dragon. Okay, so I just went through this whole project with you. It is a repeat of previous projects, but I thought it was an interesting little thing that I did using some library books for the kids. Of course, you can't do something like this and commercialize it because if you're using library books, you're using somebody else's material. But you can do this to practice your own web development, and you can do this for personal use for your grandkids or your kids or whatever. You just can't commercialize it as long as you're using somebody else's stuff. This is basically to practice code.